Choo choo, choo choo.
Hello, welcome to Phrasal Verbs Town, or welcome back to Phrasal Verbs Town for some people, because this is actually a re-recording of the original introduction that I recorded back in about 2018 or 2019. This introduction, the original, was about 20 minutes over 2 videos. Today I'm going to do it in less than 10 minutes today. That should be enough time for you to understand about what phrasal verbs are, why they are so important to you, and also what this channel is all about and how we teach the phrasal verbs. If you do require more information, more details, I will leave the original introductions on here so you can have a look at those another time, full of information as well. There's going to be lots more videos coming, so hopefully you will also find more reasons to like our channel, to subscribe, and to get notifications. Also, if you have any comments, any suggestions, anything else you need, there's a comments section below, so you can feel free to make a comment there, to practice with the language there, etc. I will have a look when I can. So I will stop here and let's start the episode right now. So enjoy, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye. What are phrasal verbs? Looking at this graphic here, you can see that a phrasal verb is made up in 3 different ways. Firstly, it can be a verb with an adverb, or it can be a verb with an adverb and preposition. And thirdly, it would be a verb and a preposition. And here we have some of the adverbs and prepositions commonly used with phrasal verbs. Returning to the earlier graphic, it says that phrasal verbs are always idiomatic, and that means you can't know the meaning from the individual constituent words. That's right, they are figurative, idiomatic, and essential. As with the original introduction, the first phrasal verb that I'm going to look at is pick up, and as you will see, it has both a literal and also a figurative meaning. The literal meaning is not a phrasal verb, but the figurative one is. The literal version is when you actually use your hands or another object to lift something, to pick something up. So for example, in the picture here, you can see the children are picking up the garbage, and also the man here is also picking up some garbage as well. It doesn't just have to be with hands, as you can see with the sushi is being picked up with chopsticks. Now, as a phrasal verb, pick up has got a number of different meanings. The most common is when you go and collect someone from a particular place and take them somewhere else, as in the picture where the taxi picked up the lady from the airport. And of course it's a phrasal verb or figurative because the taxi driver most certainly doesn't use his hands or anything else to raise or pick up the woman, unlike in the case here where the father does indeed literally use his hands to lift or pick up his daughter, so in that case it's not a phrasal verb. Now, looking at both cases of the verb pick up, that is the literal compound verb and the idiomatic phrasal verb, the next question you're going to ask is the same, and that is whether the verb is separable or inseparable. That is, do we say he picked up her or he picked her up? And the correct answer is... That's right, he picked her up is correct. He picked up her is incorrect. Pick her up. That means it's an example of a separable phrasal verb. That means that another word can go between the verb and the adverb or the preposition. In this case it would be her, but it could be another word, for example, such as me, it, him, or them. So if you can put a word in the middle, it's a separable phrasal verb, and if you can't put another word in the middle, then it's an inseparable phrasal verb. So in the case of the verb pick up, you can see that it's only separable, no matter the context. So you can always say pick him up, but you can never say pick up him. Now, in the original video, we looked at some cases where there are verbs that can be both separable and inseparable, but the meaning would be very different according to which is chosen. How do you know which is the correct one to use?
It all depends on the context.
Let's have a look at some examples. Now, the example we saw in the first video is lay off, and you will see that it's very different according to whether it is separable or inseparable. The difference between lay off him and lay him off, and those are very, very different. Now, to lay off someone, first of all, is to leave them alone, to stop bullying, attacking, or criticising them. And as you can see from the graphic here, there is an example where the younger man bullies or attacks the older man, while the policeman says, "Hey bully, lay off him," which means leave him alone, stop attacking him. To lay someone off has a completely different meaning, and it means to stop employing someone for reasons not related to their performance. So, for example, during difficult economic periods, companies cannot afford to retain all their workers and employees, so they have to release some people. Therefore, they have to lay them off. And the sample sentence we have here is the company had to lay him off due to their economic problems. Now, one of the most important things to help you learn phrasal verbs is to think of collocations. That is, nouns and objects which are commonly used with particular phrasal verbs. In the original video, I used the verb take on, and some collocations I used for that were to take on responsibilities, take on tasks, duties, and so on. Again, there is more information on the original video. Now, to help you, I do use here the Macmillan Dictionary website, which gives you a list, as you can see in red, of commonly used objects. And you can find this information for any phrasal verb there or on other dictionary websites. Now, a few final points about phrasal verbs. The first one to mention is that they are a little difficult and confusing. Don't worry, everybody feels this way at the beginning, but with patience and practice, you will start to see progress. Phrasal verbs are very useful because they are used all the time by native speakers. So even if you are not planning to use them, when you are conversing with a native speaker, it is likely that they will be using phrasal verbs. So understanding them really will elevate your comprehension. The way to learn phrasal verbs is by reading books, listening to songs, watching movies, TV shows, and so on. And if you have them with subtitles, you can make a note of phrasal verbs. And if you see those phrasal verbs fairly frequently, then it's probably a good idea to try and remember them. And don't forget the collocations. As mentioned earlier, a good way to study phrasal verbs is to learn the nouns commonly used with them. And the other thing is to remember, are they separable or inseparable? That is, can you put another word in between the verb and the object? Ways not to learn phrasal verbs. I don't think it's very useful to just have a list of, for example, phrasal verbs with take, or, for example, all phrasal verbs with out or in. I think it's much better if you can learn them within a context, with some sort of a surrounding narrative. That is what we do here on Phrasal Verbs Town, and that is how we teach the phrasal verbs. Okay, that's all for now. See you soon. Bye-bye.